one thing about it, you can't. I've not thought about this because I don't know what to think about. You know, you know what I mean.
Right.
Which is probably a good thing.
It is. It is a good thing because then we can just flow right into it naturally, which is the best way to do these, I think.
Yeah.
But we were talking a little bit on the way here about like just the stuff that has changed
Oh yeah.
in Lafayette.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that's going to be the biggest thing that we can talk about, really, because I have no idea. Like
Yeah.
that's one thing that I hate sometimes is my perspective as a young man. Like I've got no clue what's normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's crazy, because the last 2 years it felt so crazy to me, but then.
Oh yeah. And all of 26 that the main Toyota's on.
Yep.
Was nothing there.
I know, it was just all farmland.
The first thing that was there was Caterpillar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy how that works, how something like that just plops up and then it.
And it was at the edge of town.
Yeah.
Who would have thought town would surround it?
Yeah.
Caterpillar probably didn't even think that.
Yeah. I'm sure they appreciate it though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, and it's crazy that like a business like that comes into town, how much money gets generated from other businesses and other people selling land and real estate.
Yeah. I got a beef about some of this land that's being sold right now between Lebanon and Whitestown.
Really?
Terrible.
Why? What's going on there?
They're putting all warehouses in and eating up farm ground.
Yeah.
Good farm ground.
Yeah. Yeah, because you'd think they would put those things somewhere where like the soil wasn't as fertile.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, what are the warehouses for? Are they for like Amazon or something?
I don't know.
Yeah.
There's right at the edge of Lebanon. They have a Subaru warehouse, and it's huge.
Yeah.
But most of those are up by Whitestown, and they're all huge, enormous things.
Yeah. Do you think it'll bring jobs to the area?
Well, I'm sure it'll bring jobs to the area, but what's it going to do for the farm ground someday when we need extra farm ground?
Yeah, that's very true.
It's already gone.
Yeah. There's a lot of farm ground too that's being bought up by just not farmers necessarily. Like,
Right.
Yeah. Other
Yeah.
countries
Oh, yeah.
and things like that.
Yeah. There's a dispute at 52 and 32 at Lebanon, and somebody's trying to buy up, what was it, 4,000 to 7,000 acres of farm ground.
Wow.
And then about 2 or 3 weeks later, I heard Eli Lilly is going to build something huge somewhere in the Indianapolis area. So Boone County's close enough.
Yeah.
It just bugs me.
Yeah. So do you think that that's a big contributor to the change that you've seen since you were like a kid, is big corporations and big businesses like that?
Oh yeah. We got, you got Eli Lilly. It's all over Indianapolis and here in Lafayette out to the west, I guess.
Yep.
And Caterpillar's moved in. But all those have brought business, have brought people to work.
Right.
But right now we're getting a problem with not having workers.
Yeah.
And we're still building factories or warehouses.
Yeah. And it makes me wonder at what point is those jobs that those would create, are they going to be taken up by like robots or machinery that may be their plan? I wonder what Walmarts and Myers and things like that, do you feel like that changed a lot?
Yes. Walmart. They're moved into all the towns like Lebanon, Crawfordsville, Danville.
Yeah.
And it cost the people that had small businesses, it just ruined them.
Yeah,
it ruined the small business people.
That's what would make me is so frustrated. If I would have witnessed that, or if I maybe would have been a business owner in that would have made me so frustrated. But that's where like my perspective as a young man, I don't like, that's just normal to me. There's always been a Walmart.
Right.
But I wish I could have.
Has been.
Yeah, I wish that I could have lived a life where you go to like your local grocery store,
right,
and buy like local stuff. I just never experienced anything like that.
When I was growing up on the farm between Darlington and Thorntown, we drove to Thorntown to get our basic things at a grocery store, and everything else was at home.
Right.
We didn't have restaurants to go to. We didn't have fast food restaurants.
Yeah.
Didn't have it.
So did you have chickens and stuff like that?
We had chickens, hogs, cattle, dairy cows,
Yeah.
beef cows, and the beef, he'd buy young 400 pounds and raise them to about 8 to 1,000 pounds to 1,200 and
That's
sell
awesome.
them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So then you were really connected with what you were eating at that point. Like
Yeah.
you saw it, the whole process.
Saw them butchered right
Yeah.
there. I remember my dad butchering cattle, beef, steer, at the front of the big barn and hung it from the hay rope
Wow.
to gut it.
Yeah.
Yep. And then took it to a process plant
Yeah.
to finish processing it.
Yeah. See, if nowadays, if somebody that was your age at that time, if they would have seen that now, it'd be like traumatizing.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
There was nothing to it because it was done every day.
Right. And you had to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We we raised chickens for eggs, but we also raised chickens for meat.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever the chicks got big enough to butcher, my grandfather and my dad would, usually my grandfather, dad was doing other things, would come over to our house and he would do the butchering outside, and mom and my grandmother would finish dressing them out inside, cut them
Yeah.
up and put them in the freezer.
Yeah. And then
They'd do 25, 30 of them at a day probably.
wow. So then you had a stock full of food then.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. And that was probably more affordable too than what we would be doing
Oh, I'm sure it
now.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, what we do now probably
Yeah.
costs more money.
Oh, yeah, but nothing else but inflation. But
Right.
even now, if you raised chickens to feed out, it would probably be almost as much to feed them out as you would go buy them.
Right, right. And then it's just the extra work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Inflation's kind of a crazy thing. I feel like you've seen a few recessions in your life. What is your thoughts on what we have going on right now, kind of compared to back in the day?
Well, I guess I didn't think about them as being recessions.
Yeah.
You just, the market increased, and it usually don't come back down much.
Yeah.
Right now, I feel like that the government has caused a lot of the issues that's going on now.
Yeah.
With the high price of gasoline.
Mm-hmm.
Our president, and I don't want to particularly get into politics, but
Right.
Our present president and the Democrat Party has caused a lot of the problems we have today.
Yeah. Arguably. for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh, yeah. Because when we shut down our oil our oil pumps down and can't get oil pumped in our own country,
Yeah.
no wonder the price of gas skyrocketed.
Yeah, and that's definitely, like, it's weird to talk to people that don't feel that way, because it seems like that's a very direct thing. Like, if you look at a couple years ago when that pipeline was being built, or when we were doing it here in country, we had like excess oil.
Right.
Yeah, so
Yes.
it's hard to.
And we got it, what, down to $1.50, $1.75 maybe?
I know, and it's just so crazy to think how quickly it jumped, and then and then to try and blame it on anything other than what, like I said, arguably could be directly affecting it, the pipeline being shut down.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. And of course, the pipeline wasn't even finished.
Yeah,
So we hadn't even got the pipeline coming from Canada. I think that's where it was coming
I
from.
believe so. Yeah,
Down to the refineries.
yeah,
What would have happened to the price of gas had we got that done?
right,
It might have been $1.
right. And the whole thing, I'm pretty sure, is for the environment. And I saw that we're doing 4 times more damage to the environment by exporting the oil, or importing rather, the oil to America.
I hadn't seen that figure.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what I heard, and I've
And
actually,
it's probably true.
yeah, I'm not sure, but it's
Yeah.
got to be something. I mean,
Yeah.
the
Well, we have ships that go to leaking.
mhm.
We had the oil wells in the Gulf, which I'm not sure is a good idea, but
Right.
we've had those bust.
Yeah.
And what a mess that
Yeah.
creates.
Have you seen that movie? there's a movie about one of those, Deepwater Horizon, I think it's
No,
called.
I haven't.
But man, it's crazy when those things blow up.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
very
Yeah.
violent.
Yeah.
It blows up.
Oh, yeah.
Oil goes everywhere, and that stuff's so flammable.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they showed that when that one in the golf.
Yeah.
Pictures on the news.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
scary.
The price of gasoline, when I was, maybe 10 years old, 10 or 12 years old, was gasoline, I believe, was 21 cents a gallon.
What?
Diesel fuel was 18 cents. My dad bought a International tractor diesel to save 3 cents a gallon.
Wow.
When
That's crazy.
so he was one of the first diesel tractors in Montgomery County.
Wow. So the diesel, I'm surprised diesel was
Less, yeah. And it's been less for a long time until, I would say, the last 10 years,
Right.
maybe. I'm not sure when it switched, but
Yeah.
it did. Because we have so many trucks that are all diesel to get
Yeah.
the,
So the demand is
demand,
way up.
right.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. The scary thing is when you see the prices of everything go up, but then the wages don't follow that. That's just kind of the scary thing, is where if you saw a graph from when you were a kid,
Oh, yeah.
it just, the difference in wages to
Yeah.
be-
My son worked same plant I did.
Mm-hmm.
I worked there 40 years. I retired in 2006. He was already working there. I retired. I was a sample maker, so I wasn't on the floor as a production.
Yeah.
But I was a sample maker, so I was considered company. I retired around $22 an hour in
Yeah.
2006. My son is a maintenance man, and he's 7th in seniority in the whole plant.
Yeah.
He's only making $23.
Wow. That's crazy, but I wonder what the top guys, like the executives of that place are. I wonder if their income has gone up.
Why? Probably, I wonder if it's went up more than relative to
Right, to his.
his. It probably has. There's probably no doubt about it. There's so much going on in some of these factories that the top people are making so much money
Yeah.
that
And
I feel like they're making way too much.
I'm with you on that. I feel I'm very much a capitalist, where I like and I appreciate the people that take the risk to start the business, and they, do the most,
Yeah.
they make the most money. I appreciate that setup, but I feel like at a certain extent, like, wait, how much money do you really need? Like,
Right.
you get to a point, and
Yeah.
it's like the salary that you keep adding, it's not going to change your life.
Why should anybody need more than, let's throw a figure out there, $1 million
Yeah.
in 1 year?
Right.
Why should anybody make more money than it? I'm not for communism
Right.
or that what goes on. It's coming in this world in the near future. It's coming, a socialistic government
Yeah.
all over the world, and it's going to happen.
Do you think?
I think it is.
Yeah.
But if it's not, still, why should we make more money than we need to live on?
Yeah, I agree.
And $1 million is probably more than
Yeah.
I've made in my life. I know it's more than I've made in my whole lifetime.
Yeah, I think the average person's going to make about $2 million in their entire lifetime. So
Today's money.
yeah, so
Yeah.
today's money.
Yeah.
Well, and that's I would have to agree with you. It's just I think there's a certain point, and then people give to charity and things like that. But I just even then the charities don't do the best with it, and definitely the taxes that people pay, the tax money is not going to the
Yeah,
right places.
yeah.
It's just there's
Exactly.
all of these problems, and then all of this money that's just being wasted.
Yeah,
It's a very frustrating thing.
it is. We're wasting a lot of government money right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you read the book 1984
No.
by George Orwell?
No.
It's kind of a dystopian book, but it's not so much socialism, but it's very, very much government overreach and government oversee. Why do you think people continue to go back to like the idea of socialism and the idea of communism? Like it's kind of a cycle that continues on.
Especially in young people.
Mhm.
I think they think that the world, everybody should make a certain amount, like we was just talking,
Right.
a certain amount of money, and that's all they need.
Right.
And when you do that, that draws you down to the socialistic type of government.
Yeah.
Everybody gets the same deal.
Yeah.
The people that are poor, or the people that are not in government.
Yeah.
The government takes it all.
Right, but that's so weird that people don't see that having everything be equal, but when we all equally have nothing, like that's not a better.
That is not a better society, because then we have no desire to produce anything.
Or ability, really. I mean, if everybody gets paid the same.
Why do I need to go to college?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you just that leads to not good things, poverty and
chaos.
Yeah.
Where we're at today.
Yeah. I think everybody I've talked to has said that there's a pendulum, that it swings back and forth. It gets crazy and then it kind of gets back to normal and crazy the other way. Do you feel like it's ever been this far crazy?
No, not near.
No.
Not near. It's, I believe scripturally in the Bible. I'm a Christian. And I believe that we are in what the Christians call the end time.
Right.
We're getting close to the time that we will have a one world government. The Bible tells us there will be a one world government. It will be run by the enemy to the Christian.
Right.
It'll be run by the devil. And that's coming. I truly believe that's coming. And if you're not a Christian, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
The people that are not Christians will not survive.
Yeah. That's a very scary thought, but it's to the scripture, a lot of things kind of add up. Like some of the things that are written in there can reflect our current time.
Oh, definitely.
One thing that I like in that, and I probably am going to misinterpret it or say it wrong, but it says that the meek will inherit the earth. Like I believe it's after all of this chaos and the fall of it, then the meek will inherit the earth. Do you feel like that could resemble, like right now, the country is obviously divided as it's ever been. Do you feel like we have to go through a period of destruction or maybe chaos to get to maybe where we beat? I don't want to say the government, because I don't think that all of the government is bad or all of the government is the enemy, but the corrupt part, do you think it could be interpreted that way?
Well, here's what I believe. That's the only way I can interpret it, I guess. I believe that the Lord Jesus Christ will come back to earth for the chosen, which is his people, those that have accepted Christ in their lifetime.
Yeah.
If they have not accepted Christ in their lifetime, he won't be coming back for them.
Right.
And there's going to be something called the rapture. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
Okay. The rapture will occur, but Christ comes not to the earth, but he comes to the sky and calls his people home. There will be an instantaneous happening, which every Christian who believe in the Lord will go up in the air. They'll be changed in a twinkling of an eye. You've probably heard that. And will be forever with the Lord.
Yeah.
Okay. I believe when that happens, that opens the door, because the Christian has left the earth. There is nothing to retain or hold back
The devil. That makes sense.
And so the devil will put in a man, and he's already, if it's close, he's already on earth.
Yeah.
That will rule this world, and the devil will be in charge of him,
And
in him.
That person, if I'm not mistaken, will he'll be almost like people will worship him.
Yes.
He'll be like,
They will worship him.
Yeah.
But after the rapture, the scriptures tell us we have a tribulation period, and it's called the Great Tribulation. There's two parts to that tribulation. The first 3.5 years, and then the second 3.5 years. But at the end of the 7-year period, Christ will come back to earth, and his feet will set down on the Mount of Olives, where he left from, where he was crucified.
And at that point, he's just restarting, or do we not know yet?
Scripture tells us that there will be a new Jerusalem that will come down out of heaven, and it tells us the size of it. And I can't quote the size of it, but It's large,
Yeah.
very large, and it will have 9 gates, and they will never close. But the Christian can go in and out of it. Those that are left on earth after the Battle of Armageddon, the last battle there ever be on earth, God intervenes and he steps in and destroys the whole armies of the world. That will be,
So there's like world peace at that
and
point?
then he will set up his own government.
Yeah.
Yep, and it'll be run by Christ, and he will show the world for 1,000 years that that he can run a world that's peaceful.
Yeah.
Because that was the intent from the Garden of Eden.
Right.
But then man fell
Yeah.
and sinned, didn't obey God,
Right.
and that's the reason Jesus died on the cross, because there was sin in the world, and the only way you can stop sin was Jesus Christ coming to earth and dying on the cross, shedding his blood.
Right.
That the person that receives him has eternal life, and those that don't, they don't. And yes, there is a hell.
You think?
Yep, I do believe it.
Yeah.
And so Scripture tells us so.
Yeah.
And recently, a woman died in a hospital. Oh, she went to the doctor, and the doctor says, "You're having a heart attack." Is checking her everything, and they rushed her to the hospital. She died for 11 minutes, and the story is, anyway, that I've read, she went to heaven, and she's seen some of her family and different things, and then before she come back to earth, her body came back.
Yeah.
Her spirit came back into her body, but before that, they showed her hell. And she said, yes, hell is real.
Wow. That's pretty powerful. My great-grandma, when she passed, so the whole tradition, or not tradition, but whatever, every time somebody came over, a whole family got together. At my great-grandma's house, we would always meet in the kitchen. That was like the first place we went was to the kitchen. And when she was passing on, she had an accident. When she was in the hospital passing on, apparently my mom says that her last words were, "Let's just go to the kitchen. Let's just all go to the kitchen." And so I like to think that she got up and saw her family and said, "You know what? Let's just go to the kitchen."
To go to the kitchen.
Yeah,
cool.
she saw all of her family and she said, "Let's go to the kitchen." That's what I
cool.
like to think.
Yeah, that's cool.
But it's hard because some people would get really frustrated talking about just the religion and the church and everything like that. Some people get really fired up about it, but it just, there's certain things, little things here and there that just, to me, they can only be explained by God. Just like stuff like that, and just the fact that there's so many people and so many moving parts of this world, and we are able to do it peacefully.
Right.
For the most part. I mean, there's parts that aren't, but for the most part, we're able to be and function as a whole. And I think that's really great.
Right. Yep.
I think it's hard, and I like to think anything that can't be explained by science, that's probably God.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way I like to think about it. You can't disregard science, but there's things that science doesn't know.
Exactly.
Yeah. But how do you think, or do you think, I guess, that we'll ever get back to a position where religion's in the mainstream? I think that's kind of where some of the problems that we see started, when we started to take away the foundation that religion brings. Because whether you like it or not, it's undoubtedly has some pretty good lessons.
Right.
It's a pretty good way to live by. Whether you believe in God or not, live as if there is one.
That would be good.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing.
Right. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you.
Right.
And that's a golden rule. And of course, that's a Christian doctrine, but the world would live like that. It'd be totally different.
Yeah, and that's why it just makes sense to me to, I don't know, to me, if you're not going to push it mainstream, to at least adopt some of the morals that come with it.
Yes.
Because it just, at a very simple, ground floor level of religion, is just basically just be nice to people and treat each other well and love each other.
Right.
And I think if everybody in the world did that, it'd be a much, much better place than it is.
It would.
I feel like we've stopped looking at each other like we're humans. And it may be because of social media or the internet or phones or whatever, but I don't think that people my age at least would look at another person and think of their feelings and think of them as a human being. it's usually just like, what are their opinions and how are they on my team or are they not on my team? Like, I feel like we've just gone back to very tribal
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know what I can say about that at the moment.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
I think you have could be a good example of like the way you grew up. Like, I don't think the population of where you grew up was extremely large. It wasn't near as large as what you could reach on the internet.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that that's maybe how humans are supposed to live, in smaller tribes and smaller communities where you don't know everybody, but you know a lot of the people, and it's a lot easier to interact. Where now we're basically a world, like we're a one world economy.
Yeah.
Whether it's a government yet or not, we're a one world economy where everybody can talk and everybody can exchange information.
Mm-hmm. Well, we want advancement, of
Yeah.
course. And back when I was growing up, and even till I was, I don't know, 40 maybe, I don't know, life was so much slower than it is today. We put on the television when I was about, I don't know, 10 to 15 years old, 10 years old, maybe we had television begin to come in. And then what I was probably in my 30s or 40s before we had cell phones.
Mm-hmm.
And so we didn't have that. We had phones that were maybe a party line.
Yeah.
And so you knew who was on your party line. And if you went to the phone, why, they might be talking, you know. If it was an emergency, you'd ask them to get off.
Yeah.
But so we've come a long ways living a small lifestyle compared to what we live today, because today I can see what's happening in Ukraine right now.
Right.
And so
Do you think that's better or worse? Or maybe it's better in some ways.
I guess it's both, because the worst of it is if there's a strike or an upheaval in one part of the country or world, it spreads to the whole world, seems to, anyhow.
Yeah.
And the other advantage is if there's a problem, they get help there a lot quicker today, because we know about it so much sooner.
Yeah.
So I guess it's kind of balances out a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Just the influx of information is insane. Like, what do you think you would have said or you would have thought if you, like, somebody from your childhood would have just gotten blasted with like an hour of the news nowadays? Like, it's everything is breaking news.
Yeah, I can't imagine what my grandparents, at least my grandparents, my dad's seen some of it, of course. He didn't die until 2012. I'm not sure what year.
But he saw some of the crazy.
But he saw some of the craziness. But my grandparents didn't see that.
Yeah.
And it would blow them away today to even the cell phone.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't in existence when they passed away.
Right.
So
it's just so crazy.
And even that, I think my grandparents lived to be both of them, my Personett side, to probably they were in their 90s, both of them.
Nice.
And so they were born in around 1896, one of them, and the other in 1898 or something like that. So, in fact, my grandmother was living in Missouri. Yeah, in Missouri. And her parents had a lot of kids, and so she was moved to her uncle and lived with her uncle in Indiana, and that's how she got to Indiana. But she came by covered wagon.
Really?
And I wish I knew how old she was.
Yeah.
But she was pretty young yet when she came from covered wagon from Cassville, Missouri, to Indiana.
That's a really long haul. That's not like, that takes like preparation. It was probably took some risk too. Like the risk
Back
of
then,
dying
yes,
is
sure.
pretty great.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there was still, I guess there was still, it's still horses.
Yeah.
And she came to her uncle's, which it was just outside of about 5 miles east of Darlington, about 5 miles west of Thorntown.
Right. That's crazy. Doesn't, like, when we talk about it, it doesn't seem like that long ago. Like, it was a long time ago.
But yeah, it's been 120, almost 125 years ago since she was born.
Yeah.
My grandparents.
That's so crazy. It makes me wonder what, in 100 years from now, what things will look like.
Well, take for instance, when she came, she told a story that from their place in the farm, after they inherited the farm from her uncle, her and her husband, my grandfather Frank, she said when she first came to Indiana from the county line at Boone-Montgomery County line to Thorntown, from their place, was all woods.
Yeah.
Now it's all farm ground.
Yeah.
There's a wood spotted here and here, but it was all forest.
Yeah, pretty soon it'll probably be condos or apartment complexes.
Yeah, it's the way it's going.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be built up.
Yeah, that's so wild.
But if we build it too much, we ain't going to have place to plant crops.
Yeah, or for animals to graze. I mean, there's the good amount of cattle. I mean, you have to have land for them to walk around. You can't have them all.
But I can't imagine, and I've been out west, and I can't imagine that it ever being built up to the point that there's not space for livestock and cattle. So it would be, I guess there are countries that are like that.
Yeah.
But I can't see it happening. I don't think the Earth, it's going to be that long to end it all.
Right, hopefully. Well, I guess hopefully and hopefully not.
Yeah, it depends.
I hope I can let me get my fun out and get to, I don't know, a healthy 90-something and then start going bad.
Well, yeah, I'll be, the 21st of June I was 79 and a half.
Yeah.
The 21st is the longest day of the year of June. And the shortest one is my birthday, December 21st.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Growing on the solstice, I think is what they say.
15 hours and 2 minutes is the 21st of June.
Yeah.
Daylight.
Yeah. That's cool. So on your half birthday, you got a lot of daytime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it cuts back to about 3.5 hours less in the wintertime, so that would be about 11.5 hours or something like that of daylight.
Shortened birthday.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier before the podcast a little bit about some of the past presidents, like Nixon.
Oh yes,
Kennedy.
yeah.
I'm really fascinated with Kennedy. What was he like, and why do you think people wanted him out of the position so bad enough to take him out?
Wow. Well, he was so popular, and I think popularity might have been the downfall, part of it, because whenever you have someone that's popular and trying to do the right things, and I felt like Kennedy was doing that.
Yeah.
I don't remember his political.
Right. How old were you when he was?
I was working here in Lafayette. I had so I would have been 27, 28 years old, maybe.
So you were an adult then?
Yeah. I was working at Mack Truck dealership, right where Kinley is working.
Really?
That was a Mack Truck dealership,
Nice.
right there. And I asked my cousin here a while back, I said, can you pinpoint exactly where the building was? And he says, yes, I know because of he says, I know exactly where it would be if I drove by and looked at Wabash National.
Yeah.
That's across the road from it.
Yeah.
So
you got the landmark, a big old Wabash.
Yeah.
Nice. But what was it like hearing that the president had just gotten shot? Was it crazy?
You mean when he was shot? Oh, yeah. The day he was shot, I was working on a truck, and behind our building was a tire shop. Mm-hmm. It was for semis, big tires, and it was a tire shop. And the guy from the tire shop come through from the back and saying, "Hey, Kennedy's been shot. Kennedy's been shot." And so we all went to a television set that was up front and got to listen for a little bit about what was going on. And, it was a real shock. And it's something, I guess, of all the history things that have happened, we talked about Neil Armstrong and Nixon a little bit, but I guess of all of them, that's the one that most stands out.
Really?
Because he was shot somewhere in, I don't know, Texas,
Houston, I think.
Yeah, and there's so many stories about how he was shot and all that, but you never know what would have happened had he lived.
Right.
And what conditions would have been different.
Right.
We had a standoff with Russia while he was president. I believe this is correct now.
Yeah,
correct me if you know.
I'm not sure.
Over Cuba?
Probably the Cuban Missile Crisis.
It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't missiles.
Was that Nixon that was?
I don't know. It was. They was trying to take over Cuba, I believe, and we stood them off somehow. I'm not a history buff. So,
yeah, no. I wish I had one here.
Yeah, so that's
Stuff.
So that's was in his time frame, and then it was of course televisions was going then and everything, but. So we was able to see that day and where he was shot, and they showed how he was shot. They actually showed him being hit.
Really?
Today they probably would not show a president getting hit.
No.
But in the car, it was an open car, and so let's see. They showed the Secret Service men piling on top of the car when that happened.
Yeah.
To protect him, but it was too late.
Yeah.
Of course, they took off and rushed him to the hospital, and
I think he died at the hospital.
He did.
Yeah.
And president that took over from Kennedy, was that Nixon?
I think that was the person before Nixon. I know.
Oh yeah. Okay. Anyhow, it was Ford.
Yeah.
It was Ford. And he was...
no, it was Lyndon B. Johnson.
Johnson?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was in the air, on the airplane, be sworn in.
Yeah. With Mrs. Kennedy, with...
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yeah.
That could be possible,
But yeah, that was so crazy. And I don't want anybody to be shot.
No.
Ever. But it makes me wonder with how civil and how strong people felt about morals back then when that happened.
Oh yeah.
Versus today, how loose people's morals are.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder why all that kind of stuff happened back then and we don't see things like that happening now.
That's a good question. I don't know. More security today, much more security today than there would have been. I think if any president would get shot, I think that guy would be caught within minutes.
For sure, nowadays.
Because of the security. I might be wrong, but I think that's, and I would like to believe that would be true.
Yeah, and I would like to believe that it is security that is the reason it's not happening, because they're so well protected. Because I would hate to live through something like that. I mean, that would be very scary, but it is weird that it happened back then when I feel like people were more sane, almost.
Yeah. Well, there's so many comparisons between Kennedy and Lincoln. If you've ever looked those up,
I have.
It's tremendous, the things. Yeah. But I just read the other day, and I know it's true, that was a planned murder.
Which one?
For Lincoln.
Really?
And because there was no security, none.
Yeah. Was it over slavery stuff, you think?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm sure it was.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I think it was planned enough that there was no security. I think I'm right on that. I'm not. positive.
That's kind of weird to think about
He
how
was-
how that was planned and how the connections to JFK are
Yeah.
so prevalent, I guess. I mean, there's
Right.
just so many connections with
Oh,
him.
yeah.
It kind of makes you think if JFK's was.
Oh, yeah, I think it was planned.
Do you?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I really do.
I questioned it for a long time, but then I think this past year or maybe 2020, the documents were set to release about all the information over it.
Yeah.
And they pushed it back another 40 years.
Really.
Yeah. So I probably won't
may
know
even
what
they
happened.
may even not know. Yeah, and even if you get the reports, are you going to believe they're true?
Right.
So you don't know.
Yeah. It's very weird to think that all of the governments, basically of all time throughout history, have been corrupt, or at least gotten corrupt.
Gotten
basically.
corrupt.
It's hard to believe that ours isn't going to do that or isn't already corrupt. Like it just how are we any different?
We're not.
We're not.
And
at all.
I think we're already pretty corrupt.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
It's sad, very sad.
It is because I mean, whether you like America or not, there's no argument to say that this is not the best country or the best lifestyle situation that any humans
Has ever had.
Yeah.
And I think I've been fortunate enough to live in the prime time. Well, it's growth, but maybe my grandparents would have felt they lived in the best time.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And they probably felt that way at the time.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I used to think that this was the best time. I used to think mine was, and I hope that it still is.
Right.
I hope we've turned things around and hope that it still is.
Yeah.
But COVID and all the other stuff the last couple of years has made me, unfortunately, question that a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
Which is sad, but
Yeah.
who knows? There's some really, really good things from the way life is today.
Right. Yeah. Well, I just don't. If this is truly the end time, truly headed for the tribulation period,
Yeah.
if the tribulation is like I think it will be, or even leading up to it,
Yeah.
then our country has to fall because it's going to be a one world government.
Yeah.
And to have a one world government, and again, I don't like to bring up the government too much, but if we were to get a president who turned things around, we're only slowing down the time
to go.
that it's going to
Yeah.
that the tribulation is going to happen.
Yeah.
We're slowing down the time that we would have a one world government,
Yeah.
which is good
Yeah.
because
It buys us some time.
buys time for more people to receive the Lord
Yeah.
and become Christian.
Yeah. The one world government thing is probably my biggest fear of all time.
Yeah,
That would be because there's no escape at that point unless
Right.
you can get off the planet.
yeah, and you
Which
can't.
Maybe maybe that's going to be an option, but
I doubt it.
Yeah.
I really doubt it
yeah.
because it most likely would be stopped.
Yeah, you think? You
Yeah,
think they would
yeah.
stop it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I do.
Well, the second we get what is it? Interstellar, I think is what they call it when a species is in space. The second our species gets interstellar, there's no controlling anybody. Like you're not going to be able to govern somebody if they say, okay, well, I'm just going to hop in my spaceship and go to another galaxy.
Yeah.
The government at that point is completely
Oh yeah,
Not a
yeah, and I just don't see that happening.
no.
I
think they
don't.
would
I
let
don't see that happening. Some people have believed that when we went into space, it was a downfall
Really?
of our society.
Why do they say that?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but it's neat to see that we have the things that we're doing in space. But I'm not going up there.
Really?
No way.
I would fight very strongly for space. I'm a big advocate for
Yeah.
space because I think, as much as I do think we should protect the environment and that we should take care of our Earth here,
Yeah.
I think if we dumped every dollar that anybody ever made into saving the environment and we got it 100% clean and where it needs to be, I think a meteor could still take us out.
Sure.
So the only way to keep this species going, if it's not up to the Lord, is getting into space.
Yeah.
So.
And space travel has gotten a lot safer,
Mm-hmm.
and what's the guy's name out west? That
Elon Musk.
Musk has done a lot for the space program. Seems like
Yep.
people are actually going up and coming back in a day's time, and
Yeah, which is crazy, isn't it?
seeing the outer space or inner space. They don't go
Yeah.
too awfully high, but that's quite a feat to
Yeah.
me. That's quite a feat.
Yeah, people get upset with it, and I understand where we have a lot of problems here at home, and you've got
Yeah.
billionaires that are
And we
going to
wonder,
space.
we wonder why we're spending that money when we could spend it to help
Yeah.
the African people have
Yeah.
a decent life.
Yeah, I understand that too.
Yeah,
Yeah, it just, yeah, that's a tough one, because at a certain extent, you do want to get to space, but then, yeah, there's a lot of problems here at
Yeah.
home.
there is,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. That's very interesting. Do you think that there's any chance a one world government could be positive?
No,
You think it's
no.
socialism all the way?
No, I think it is. I think it's the one world government will never succeed.
Yeah.
It's not meant to succeed. It's going to fail.
What if aliens? Do you
I
believe in
don't.
aliens?
I don't believe in aliens.
No?
No, I don't believe that God created anything but Earth for mankind.
Gotcha.
Because I believe that the stars, the moons, all we see was for the glory of God to show us
How infinite
how.
it is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's definitely
Yeah.
it's a valid way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't think that that the Earth will ever get better than it is right now.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that it's going to improve
Yeah. Are you saying like environmentally or socially or altogether?
altogether.
Yeah.
Socially, environmentally,
Yeah.
socially, if we tear each other apart, then we'll be fighting over oil and
Yeah.
gasoline and
Stupid things too
Yeah.
that we fight about.
Right.
Man. Dumb things.
yeah,
And it's always, the frustrating thing to me is that it's always blamed on people the blame is always pointed at the wrong way. Like even now, and I don't want to talk about it, but the whole abortion thing, like it's
Right.
not,
Yeah.
you're pointing, it's not my fault. I've had a lot of discussions about it, and I don't feel like I'm being blamed for it, but sometimes I feel like they just want to say it's the man or it's the white man or whatever.
Right.
And it's not, there's a whole corporation, basically. The government's a corporation. I mean, it's all to make money. And so there's this big, infrastructure of people that are making these decisions, and there's a process behind everything. And we have to follow that process. We can't just emotionally like do these crazy things. And I feel like a lot of the decisions we make are on emotion, not thinking like critical
Right.
thinking or thinking
right,
logically.
yeah, I think, and this is controversial,
Mm-hmm.
but abortion's wrong, and I don't know your feelings, but
Yeah.
I feel abortions are wrong because God created man in His image,
Mm-hmm.
and that child is a human being from conception,
Yeah.
not 10 weeks or 20 weeks or.
Yeah, it's very weird. The way I feel is that you should have the choice because of the country we live in I'm a very much a freedom absolutist. So
Yeah.
anything that involves freedom I can get behind, but to acknowledge maybe that you're taking the opportunity for life away.
Right, you
That
are,
You
yes.
you can't not acknowledge that.
Yeah.
But I understand where
Yeah,
freedom is freedom. I
Right.
wouldn't want freedom,
Yeah.
any freedom of mine taken away. But
yeah.
it's a very odd situation.
And
we're in.
I know right now, of course, those people that believe like that are saying, well, we're taking away the freedom of the woman not to have that child.
Right.
But what about that freedom for the child?
Yeah.
What about that child?
Yeah.
Who knows what an Einstein might be
Yeah.
put to death.
Curing cancer.
Right, or,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And I wish that the government would have done a bit better job with this, with all of the food shortages and the formula shortage that's going on right now. I think it'd be a little bit easier to stand on that argument if they would have shown a little bit of love to a born baby, an already born baby. I think that's the big argument now. Is they don't care about them after they're born. Why do they care about them before? But it's a weird topic.
Well,
what was it like? Do you remember what it was like when that policy first came into effect, when Roe v. Wade was first introduced? Do you remember that, or was it even a big deal back then?
I can't tell you. I don't know whether that was. I'm sure it was a big deal because for the Christians, that's not what they would want.
Right.
Because they know and believe that a child from conception is a human being. Mm-hmm. And you see it. People can see the pictures today of an unborn child.
Yeah.
In the womb.
Yeah, it's a lot different nowadays than it was back then, like ultrasounds.
Yeah. So,
that's a good point too. I guess I didn't think about that. Like the technology that we have is a bit more proof that it does look like a human being when it's in there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I don't know what this surgery was for, but there was a woman that had surgery, or the child, one or the other, and they removed the baby from her body, leaving it in the bag that holds the baby, and did the surgery and put it back in to finish its pregnancy.
That's pretty crazy.
I read that, and I even seen the picture of this baby outside of the land.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
And the baby was kicking and moving around.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's.
So
that's very
who could say if they were to see that's not a child?
Yeah.
Yeah, got 2 arms and 2 legs a kicking and moving around.
It's odd. Has there been another topic like that's been really polarizing in your lifetime? What do you think the most polarizing topic has been? Has it been on race? Has it been on like freedom of religion or guns maybe?
Well, there's such an upheaval about guns. And again, it's not the guns that's caused the problem.
Yeah.
It's the people that handles the guns.
Yeah.
And don't know how to handle a gun and shouldn't be carrying a gun maybe.
Yeah.
So I think guns is still going to be on the forefront for quite a while.
Yeah.
Indiana now has an open gun policy, or is it going to be voted in, or has been?
I think it has been. I think it goes into effect on Friday.
Oh, okay.
July 1st.
Which means that I can carry a gun openly on my side without even asking the government anything.
Yeah.
They can't even, and they can't even do. The police said you couldn't even do a search. I don't know if that was on your podcast. Did you talk about that on there?
Should have. I didn't.
They can't. The police are saying now they can't even run a gun check to see if that gun's been used in a crime.
Oh, really?
Because of this.
That's a bit weird.
That is.
Yeah.
That's kind of frightening. It should not have been there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one thing that they like to do, though. They like to give this policy that has a big headline on it of like this main issue, but then there's 4 or 5 other policies that are being changed.
And that's a freedom that we've gotten, but that freedom is going to cause issues.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just hope that it doesn't cause enough issues to get it taken away, because the places you take guns away is very.
Look at Chicago.
Yeah. Or Australia, somewhere where there's guns that are literally not allowed to be held.
Wow. It would be terrible.
Yeah.
But I always say that you take away the guns from everybody, and that's impossible.
Yeah.
In the United States, I would say totally impossible.
Yeah.
But the criminals, the bad guys, are still going to have the guns.
Yeah.
They're going to get them.
The Supreme Court, as mad as everybody is at them right now, just passed in New York. They vetoed a law that was, or policy or something that was brought to the Supreme Court to make it to where people in New York couldn't leave their house without a firearm. They vetoed it, luckily.
Wow, I never heard that.
Yeah, but that's something that's not being talked about right now. Everybody's really mad at the Supreme Court, but that's a huge constitutional win for the Supreme Court to say, no, you're allowed to leave your house in America with a gun. Especially in New York. I mean, think of the criminals that are in New York. You don't want to be walking around unprotected there.
Right, and they're saying they shouldn't leave without a gun on you.
Yeah, that's what they said.
For your own protection.
Yeah, it got turned down, luckily. But
wow.
Yeah,
I bought a handgun about 3-4 years ago. I've shot it one time, well, a bunch of times at the same time.
Yeah.
Just to get the feel of it.
Right.
It's in my closet.
Yeah.
It's not loaded.
Yeah.
It would do me no good if it wasn't loaded and the bullet in the chamber.
Right.
Now, some people have in their homes a box by their bed. I know somebody that does, and it's a fingerprint.
Oh, yeah, I've seen
you
that.
touch it, and it'll open. Your gun's loaded and ready.
Yeah.
They won't even hear it.
Right.
And if there's somebody bad in your house, they won't even hear you've got a gun in your hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
definitely. I mean, it just makes sense, if that person, and you don't have a choice at that point. You have so many disadvantages because the person coming into your home, they're bringing that situation to reality.
Yeah, and I don't know if I could shoot somebody.
Yeah.
I really don't know. I did a lot of squirrel hunting. Rabbits were kind of almost extinct. Even when I was growing up, there wasn't a lot of rabbits.
Really?
And where we were at. Maybe there are rabbits now, but you see a lot of rabbits around towns probably. But I did a lot of squirrel hunting. And I used a .22 rifle.
Yeah.
To shoot squirrel. My dad used a 12-gauge shotgun
Yeah.
because he didn't aim to miss because we used them for food.
Right.
But that little bullet from a .22 is so small, I could probably shoot you in the shoulder and it wouldn't harm you very much.
No,
but I looked at my 9mm and I looked at the size of that bullet and I said, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a little bigger.
That'd tear a guy apart.
Yeah. You ever seen a 45?
It's even bigger.
Oh yeah, those
sure.
are real big boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't imagine getting shot with something like that. And we got repeating rifles out there,
Yeah.
They got them.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't think they should be allowed.
Really?
I really don't think the automatic weapons that they are using now should be used, except maybe for the police.
Automatic weapons are already illegal. So semi-automatic is what they're using, but it's still, you've got a pretty good fire rate.
Oh, you got it.
Semi-automatic.
Yeah, semi-automatic. That's pull the trigger each time.
Right.
But even that's pretty quick.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm not sure them should be allowed. I think they maybe should put a stop to those, but I think it's probably already too late for that. To put a stop to those.
There's definitely too many that are already out there. Yeah.
And otherwise, I don't have a problem with the guns people having, I guess.
The only reason I would say we should have semi-automatics is because the military has full automatics.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. True.
That's the only. And everybody always wants to argue, well, if the founding fathers saw a semi-auto, would they like it? And I also don't think the founding fathers would like the fact that the government has drone strikes, like they can drone strike us.
Yeah.
So the whole point of the thing, and by my understanding of the amendment, was that we could protect ourselves against a tyrannical government, which is it's very seldom that would happen. But
it could.
If it does, we're very outarmed. We're outgunned.
But are we?
The individual may not be, but if they have tanks, if they have
yes.
If they want to get real,
but the number of guns that we have in the United States is incredible.
I think it's 1.5 per person in the United States.
Oh, at least I've got 3.
Yeah.
And they never out of the closet.
Yeah.
But one of them I can't fire. It's too old.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's a 12 gauge. I think it's a 12 gauge single action shotgun. So you'd open it up and put one shell in.
Yeah.
But it's got a soft or not a solid barrel.
Yeah.
And so they told me not to ever shoot it. I showed it to somebody and he said, don't ever shoot it.
Yeah, because it may blow up on
because unless you get the shell that's made for that, and they probably don't make them anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it would be a lighter load, considerably lighter load than they do today. We're back to this story about the squirrel hunting.
Yeah.
I got to tell this story about my dad. He hunted squirrels when squirrel season was in. It's about every day, or every other day, every chance he'd get. Early morning, go out into the woods. We had it's about a 10-acre woods at our house, and then there was a woods off of us back behind another field, crossed 2 fields to get to a bigger woods, and he had permission, I think, to hunt in there. I hunted in there a few times, and we hunted across the road in a bigger woods as well. But he had 4 squirrels. The limit's 5. He had 4 carrying towards the house, and he was coming across the woods towards. There was a grove of about 5 oak trees, and he heard these squirrels. So he slowed down, he creeped up there and got within sight where he could see what was going on. And he waited there almost an hour. There were squirrels playing, and he waited till they come together. And he got 2 squirrels with 1 shot.
Nice. So did that count as 5?
That was 6.
Oh, damn. Damn. That's funny.
And we had so many squirrels. I don't think that it ever checked, but 10 was the limit in possession. And so when we got to 10 in our refrigerator, it became squash.
Yeah, there you go. Because you can't tell then, huh?
Yeah.
You can't tell. I'm sure they were more strict on those rules back then, though.
But you know what? Nobody ever checked.
Yeah.
That would have been in the 50s.
Yeah.
Nobody ever checked.
Yeah.
Never questioned it one way or the other.
Well, out of all the decades that you've lived in, what did you say your favorite one was? Like the aesthetic, the vibe, the way that everything was?
I guess probably the 60s, because I was young like you are now.
Yeah.
I would say probably the younger age was a better time in my life. You know, as far as the world in totality, I guess.
Yeah.
The 60s, most likely.
Yeah. What did you guys do for fun back then?
Not much. Well, I was married when I was 60. In 1962, and my son was born in 64. And January 6th of 64. Eric, have you met him? I don't know. So I was already working.
Yeah.
And when I first started my first job, I was working in Frankfurt, not married yet. And when I got married, we moved into an apartment in Darlington.
Yeah.
And I lost my job, I think, maybe before we was married. I'm not sure. But back then, I worked at a International Harvester dealership as a mechanic.
Yeah.
And they gave me a week off. They told me they gotten slow. It was late fall. Nothing was happening. There was no work coming in. And they said, we're going to have to lay you off. But we're going to give you a week pay. You take 4 days off. You come back on Friday and get your check. In the meantime, you look for a job. I had a job ready to go to the following Monday after.
Yeah, there you go.
And you could get a job like that then, just like you can today.
Yeah.
Just about.
Yeah, just walk in and get one.
Yeah, and I went to work for Donnelly. Then it was a book company in Crawfordsville that made books. It's called Lakeside now, I believe.
Nice. Do they still make books?
And they still make books. They do it differently now than they did back then.
I'm sure.
It's all computerized and all that kind of stuff now. I've not even been in the factory to know, but back in a long time ago, they printed each page separately, and then had a gathering machine that made the books and put them together.
Yeah.
And I worked there for about a year, and then I quit there because I wanted to go back to mechanics. So I worked in Darlington, a block from where I lived.
Yeah, nice.
I walked to work, walked home for lunch.
That was probably great.
Yeah. So, it was a quiet, easy life that we was talking about. we'd go to the drive-in movies. We
Right.
had drive-in theaters. There was 2 in Crawfordsville.
Yeah,
And so you could had your pick
yeah. Which
to go-
movie you wanted?
which movie you wanted to go to, and in fact, they just tore up the remains of the one on 136 East just this past year, I believe. It was
Really?
still, you could still see the outline of the drive-in, or where the drive to get into it was and everything. And I don't know what they've done to it. I haven't been out that way, but they've pretty sure they bulldozed it all flat and did something. So quite a different. You don't go to a drive-in theater. Have you ever been to a drive-in?
Yeah, I have actually. They're very, very, very far and few between. I
There's
think.
one
Far-
between Frankfurt and Lebanon.
I think that's one
That's
I've been to.
Parkersburg or
I'm
something.
not sure the name of it.
Mechanicsburg.
That's one I've been to though.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I'm surprised
Yeah.
that it went away, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know why it did.
Yeah. Well, I don't either.
Because it's not like we don't still drive cars and we don't still watch movies.
Right.
It's a weird thing to have died
Yeah.
off.
Yeah. And it was a great fun time to go to movies, and you'd sit in the car and watch the movie most of the time.
Yeah.
And there was a playground up towards the front for
Yeah.
kids to play, and there was a concession stand, and everybody at break time would go to the concession stand and get popcorn and Cokes.
Yeah.
And sit on the cars and talk till the show started.
Yeah. Were people nicer to each other back then, you feel?
Oh yeah, you rarely seen a fight.
Yeah.
And if you did, somebody was trying to stop it, break it up right away.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah. That makes me sad. I think that goes back to us not thinking that we're human anymore. Like
Right.
we don't look at each other like
Yeah.
that anymore.
well, when I was in high school, I lived in the country, so I didn't get involved in the things that went on in the town of
Yeah.
Darlington
That's probably
or
good.
Thorntown, because and it was a good thing for me, because they'd get together on a Thursday night or Friday night or whatever night the group decided to get together, and
Yeah.
sorry to say, they got drunk.
Yeah.
They'd hide their liquor on the side ditch of a road till the next time they wanted it, go back and get it. But that was kind of the worst things that
Yeah.
you've seen. You didn't see, honestly, you didn't see women getting molested and raped or anything like that back
Yeah.
then like you do today. It's
Yeah.
in the news every day.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like that. It wasn't that way at all. And that would have been in the, I graduated in '60, so we had very little of that, up till, I don't know when it started.
Yeah. Right.
But,
Do you think it was like 9/11 or something? Like, where was it? I just wonder what was the thing that happened to make everybody go so crazy and just forget about morals.
Boy,
and
I
loving each
can't
other?
answer that. I think it's been a slow process.
Yeah.
And it just kind of creeps up on us. You know the story of the frog in water?
Yeah.
Turn the burner on and the frog will stay there and burn himself up.
Yeah, but if you drop him in, he jumps right out.
Yeah, and I think that's the situation.
Yeah.
We just kind of got into it slowly,
Yeah.
and so it was kind of sneaked up on us.
Yeah, it definitely did.
Yeah.
Snuck
So,
up.
yeah. I'll talk about an incident. I went to college, a mechanic school.
Yeah.
Wasn't a college. It was a small 3-room building in St. Louis.
Yeah.
I graduated May 25th or 30th, somewhere in there, and by June 10th, I was in school in St. Louis
Yeah.
for 9 months. I had never seen, as far as I can remember, I had never seen a fast food restaurant.
Yeah.
But in St. Louis, about a mile or a half, 3/4 of a mile from where I was staying and where the school was, there was a drive-in or set-in, actually, I think it did too, and I got to think about it a minute. What's White Castles?
Oh,
I
yeah.
believe it was White Castles,
Yeah.
or what was the other one that was early on? It may have been it.
Probably. I think they were the first.
But there it was. It was a nice big building,
Yeah.
and that was the first any type of fast food that I ever remember seeing.
What did you think about it?
I thought, this is neat.
Yeah.
Back then, it was neat, yeah, sure was. Yeah, I walked to work about 4 blocks from where our apartment was.
Yeah.
I was I guess it was a 5 and 10 cent store, and I worked in the basement, checking in produce or clothes or whatever off of the trucks that brought it.
So you worked at like what would be Walmart?
Yeah.
What Walmart replaced.
Right, yeah. There's I don't know if there's any 5 and 10s. I guess there are 5 and 10s, but they're not the same as,
Right, no.
not like that was. It was an all-purpose store, 5 and 10 was.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was one in Crawfordsville. I'm sure there was a couple here, some here in Lafayette.
Yeah. Were they owned by local people though? Or was it?
A good question. I really can't answer that.
Yeah.
Woolworth was a big company because you had them all over the country. So no, it was probably a nationally owned store,
I wonder what happened.
or at least a regional owned store.
Yeah.
Most likely regional then.
I wonder what Walmart did that they didn't do that made it to where Walmart would blow up like that. Maybe just prices or something.
Prices, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Walmart's really got a corner on the market.
Yeah.
Especially in small towns like Lebanon and Crawfordsville, Danville, Ellen, maybe, I don't know, several of the smaller towns.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Right. Is that me calling you?
You know, it's a unknown, one of those calls you get all the time.
Yeah.
I hate that.
When did those start?
Oh,
Did
man.
people used to call when like you were on the phone on the wall? Did they used to call and scam you then?
Oh, no, there wasn't no such thing. Wasn't no such thing. That said Westville, Indiana, and it says spam.
Yeah.
So what I do on those is just, I go down and unsubscribe or whatever I do to them and mock them off.
Yep.
And you get a dozen a day.
There's an app that you can get that I have. I think it's called Robo Killer.
I've got it, but it must not be up to date.
Yeah. It's annoying how they do that.
It is very annoying to get one in the middle of the night.
You can watch on YouTube, they have videos of people that like get back at the scammers and they'll track them down and
Oh, yeah.
where they're scamming from. It's pretty cool.
I always thought I would like to answer a couple of them and talk to them, but then they might be getting my information off my phone, so
Yeah.
I don't do that rarely.
Probably smart. And when they get that you call, they figure out this number will pick up, then they call you.
Yeah, but I wouldn't pick up again.
Yeah,
In
right.
fact, as soon as I would have hung up from them, I would have canceled them out.
Yeah, block 'em.
But what they do is, they just go to another number.
Mhm.
They got
figure out
thousands
where
of
you're at.
numbers and,
They figure out where you're at too, and they make sure that
Yeah, they might.
the numbers are right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I'll pick up one and I'll say hello, and you get nothing, I just hang up right
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, like, I've been sick since March 25th
Mhm.
and still got the catheter.
Right.
And, where was I going with that?
Your spam calls.
Yeah.
You've been getting called a lot since you've been.
But no, see, some of my doctors, I don't know their phone numbers.
right.
And I had to answer the phone to find out.
Yeah.
Because I had so many different calls coming in from different places and,
Yeah. And that's the worst too, because you're like anticipating a call, waiting on it, and then you get it, and you think it's going to be that, and it's freaking
yeah.
somebody trying to sell you car insurance or
Yeah,
something.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, I think that's good. I mean, I think we've been at it for a while. I'm not sure how long. Do you have anything else you want to discuss? Any other good stories?
Any other good stories? I told about my grandmother. Oh, my grandfather on the Anderson side. I'll tell this story then. I spent the night with him. He lived in Shannondale, near Shannondale, Indiana. It's on 32, just at the county line, Boone-Montgomery County line.
Okay.
I went with him to feed his hogs out in the middle of the field, and he had a barbed wire fence around him.
Yeah.
Because he had cattle in the rest of the field, and the hogs could get through the barbed wire fence. He had it high enough for them. And he had the electricity turned on. He had a hot wire for that whole thing. He had rubber boots on. I didn't. He walked up, took a hold of it with his hand, stepped over. I walked up to it, took a hold of it, and back I went.
Yeah, there you go.
So, but he said, if you take a hold of it, grab it It's real tight. He says it won't sting you. I don't know if that's true. I didn't try it. I don't think.
I think it will.
To some degree. So, but I thought that was neat. And the very north edge of his farm, I don't know how many acres he even had. It was under 200. It was small. There was a rail car line used to be there that ran from Lebanon to Crawfordsville. And part of that is still, as far as I know, it's still, you can still distinguish it on where his farm was at.
Right.
Most of the places you can't. It runs along a road that comes into Crawfordsville. You can still see it there.
Yeah.
And or see where, if you knew it was there, you'd know that was it. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it was, I guess that was all run by electricity. I don't know how that was run. You know, it was electric in the towns because they had the overhead things that brought the electricity in, and they run it. In Crawfordsville.
I wish they would have found a different way of doing it other than the overhead lines. Like sometimes I look at those and those are so ugly. You don't even notice it.
Oh, for regular electricity, but this was just for that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was just lines that the car had a thing up here and it gathered electricity from it to run it. I guess it was, and I don't know how that worked. I think that's the way it was done. You could do it today by electrifying a railroad with cars.
Yeah.
You know.
So. Have you heard the people making the roads that'll charge cars, the electric vehicles that we have?
No, but I can see that's a possibility.
I think Michigan is starting it. They're going to pave a road that when you drive on it, it'll charge.
Keep your battery charged.
It's pretty crazy.
Cool. Well, I have some thoughts about you want to hear them?
Yeah, you think you'll get an electric vehicle?
No, definitely not.
No?
Definitely not. I would think the crossover would be fine.
The hybrid?
The hybrid would be fine because you're producing your own electricity.
Right.
But to go all electric, we're going to use more materials and create more pollution.
More resources, you mean?
Yeah. To make the batteries for the cars than it's ever going to be worth.
Yeah.
And I just heard a story from John Deere, and I don't know if this is true. I've seen it twice now. But John Deere was pushing some farmers to go all electric.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a farmer going all electric? What would have to take place? Farmers sometimes runs all night and never stop, especially combining, bringing your crops in. They never shut them off. How would you charge a battery?
Yeah.
You couldn't. You couldn't keep running.
Yeah, and it's solar. They could say solar panels, but
they don't. The solar panels couldn't make enough electricity to keep up with the battery.
Yeah.
But what about the grain bins that are being drying the corn? They run 24 hours a day, 7, 8, 10 days a week, 10 days at a time, never stopping.
Right.
When they get low on fuel, a big semi comes in, fills it up.
Yeah.
What do you do with a battery?
Right.
And John Deere says, they asked John Deere this, farmer asked John Deere all these questions, and the guy said, we're working on that. I don't know if that's true.
Right. But how they want you to jump to all these different solutions.
Yeah,
but
and it can't be. Don't have a plan to make it work.
Yeah, sustainable plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. California is going through rolling blackouts and brownouts, I think is what they call it.
So how are you going to charge your battery?
Right, well, because the grid can't handle all the cars that are being charged.
Already.
Yeah, and the AC.
And we haven't got hardly any electric cars yet.
I know. It's going to be
Do you know if somebody's got a full electric car? I don't.
Personally, I don't think I do.
I don't either.
Yeah.
And they're more expensive.
Yeah, to purchase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, rolling blackouts and try to charge a car.
Yeah.
I think I heard that California shut the cars off for a while, couldn't charge them.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
I don't know how, that's been a while back.
Yeah.
But maybe it was just in one area.
Yeah.
But
I heard that California has been giving monthly stimuluses to offset inflation. Even though every time they give a stimulus check, it hurts.
Inflation always go worse. Yeah.
California is, I think that's the first one to go full socialism when it happens. I think they're going to be the first adopters of it.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. crazy, it is. We'll just have to wait and see what is planned for the future.
Yes. You want to end it on that? It seems like a pretty
Yes.
good stopping point. All right.
All right.
Thank you guys for listening.
Yep.